Yeah, man, I can do anything. I'm invulnerable. I'm like Superman, basically. So I don't have to worry about any safety or risk levels, do I? Yes, you do. Welcome to the Superpilotish channel. My name is Graham Wilson, and today I'm going to be talking about risk levels, risk management, and a little bit of Transport Canada stuff in my basement. All right. So the other day I went out flying, had a great time with one of my former students, and yeah, we just kind of went flying around. It was pretty fun. Beautiful weather, and so that's always helpful to enjoy your day. And and while I was out at the airport, I ran into old Carl, and Carl's been there forever, and he was hanging out in his hangar. That's what you do in a hangar, right? You hang out. And so Carl was hanging out in his hangar there, and we were just kind of talking to him. And Carl he's I don't know, he's right around 90 or so, and still has his pilot's license. He used to work for me actually, and we were just kind of shooting the breeze, doing our hangar talking, and I was just thinking about old Carl and how he's been around at the airport for years and years and years and years. And talking to the old guys, you hear about the way that how risky things used to be. And I mean, I could kind of think of like when I was a kid, there's a lot more risk around, and these guys are older than me, so there was even more risk, right? So I mean, like for me, when I was a kid, we'd go ride our bikes around with no helmets, and hey, they're putting in a new house over here, so there's a pile of dirt. Yeah, let's go up and down on the pile of dirt, try to do some jumps. Yeah, wreck our bikes and explain that to the parents. So, yeah, there was that. We got old home videos of all the kids playing lawn darts too. That was fun, lawn darts, and you take one on the foot because you're not paying attention. Oh, then you pay attention, right? It's a different risk level. And no elbow pads or knee pads or anything when you're riding your bike. So what do? You wipe out, you skin your elbow, and you realize, oh, I shouldn't do that. Yeah. And then so you go back another few years, like my mom remembers when always told us the story about they played this little game when she was in grade school, and they bring their little knives to school and try to throw the knives at each other's feet. I forget what the game was. It's like you're supposed to hold arms like this, and then if you hit the person in the foot and they let go or something like that, they're throwing knives at their feet anyways. And their idea was safety was when they were playing with the asbestos when they were kids. Make sure the asbestos is nice and wet so you don't inhale the dust, right? So different levels of just a little bit yeah, different levels of risk. So these old guys, I remember, I can remember lots of stories about. Oh, it was fun when I was learning how to fly back in the 40s. Oh, people were crashing their planes, running out of gas, and ground looping. They'd end up in the car, would come back and drag them out of a ditch, and like, okay, you can't do that now. You'd be paying way too much for insurance. So, oh, there we go, and we got a bunch of people in the chat here too. So yeah, and people are talking about their risk levels, and yeah, DH Pilot One playing around with mercury in science class. We had that too. The teacher would be like, "Hey, check this out," put it on the table. Ooh, mercury. So there's all these different levels, and with aviation, there's and one of the things that it actually shows in our Transport Canada Aviation Human Factors Handbook. It's the accident rate since 1946, right in the book. So there you can go. So this is your accident rate in 1946, and it kept going down until 1986. So they came out with this book in 1989, and that was because there was a international civil aviation organization, ICAO. They came out with the idea that every country should get some sort of human factors training, and that's why this book came up. And there's three of these. There's three books. Okay, the human factors for aviation. There's your basic handbook. Okay, and then we got that's for your basically your private pilot's license and IFR. Okay, then you got the advanced handbook. Okay, so that's for if you're going to be a commercial pilot. And then if you're going to be a flight instructor, we got the instructor guide here. And this is supposed to be used in conjunction with, or was it the Human Factors for Aviation Instructor's Guide? And that's supposed to be used with the Flight Instructor's Guide. TP 975, something like that. Anyways, yeah. And these are mandatory books. Every single flight training unit in Canada must have these books on the premises as per the cars. Anyways, yeah, I was kind of thinking about Carl and some of the stories that he told, and I'm not going to say them because it's like that was another thing that I was reading through the book is that when you're doing hangar talk, I forgot the page, but I was reading it the other day that just because you're hangar flying or hangar talking, it's great for spreading ideas and knowledge and stuff like that. But as the book says, it kind of tends people tend to say how great they were when they got out of a situation, and but they never say, man, was I ever stupid to get in that in the first place. So Carl has a bunch of stories like that too. So it's like I won't be telling his. They'll make the hair on your neck stand up. But hey, and I could kind of see as you get older, and I'm going to do a little reading here from the book. So things to watch out for when you're deciding to make a flight, or if you're in flight, you have to make decisions. But yeah, great little book here, and no one ever reads this. It's how many pages? Oh, a couple hundred pages, and I must admit, I think I read this through once in college because we were required to, and we had a lot of tests on it. The other stuff, hey, you kind of skim it, and try to get the important stuff. But I don't know. Now that I'm kind of semi-retired, I guess you could call it, that I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna actually make it a point to actually read these books and cover to cover and make notes. So this is I was looking at risk management. Uh, how not to fly like Carl used to. But don't get me wrong. Carl's still a great pilot. Still has his license and everything. Last time I flew with him was a couple of years ago. And yeah, that guy can fly in his sleep. He's got, I don't know, 11,000 hours, lots of instructing. So anyways, I'm just going to go a little bit here about risk management. Okay. And it's not just for aviation. It could be for anybody, as the book will tell us here. So here we go. What I'll do is I'll kind of read some of the book and make a little commentary about it. Okay. Ahem. In deciding to go flying, we are implicitly accepting some level of risk. The same is true of driving a car, riding a motorcycle, parachuting out of an airplane, or taking a bus. Much of what we do involves risk. Sometimes the risk is such that avoiding it entirely is the only right way of dealing with it. But we cannot always decide simply to stay on the ground or leave the car in the garage. Living requires that we accept a certain amount of risk, and safe living requires that we manage risk well by learning to make good decisions. Okay, so there we go. It says in the book that there's risks out there in the world. Maybe if I just stay in the basement here and play video games, I'll be safe. Actually, I can't do that. My computer's a piece of junk, pretty old. So, and then in that section of the risk management, we were going off the other day. We were talking. There was a little debate going on about the I'm Safe checklist. Well, here we go. This is the I'm Safe checklist right out of the book. So this will, in Canada, let's see what do we got here. So what do we got? Can you read that? Illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, and the last one is eating. So, yeah, eating in Canada, and it's probably emotion in other countries. But I don't know. Maybe Canada likes their food better. It's probably the Quebec. They love their food, their cheese and stuff. So, okay. So we're gonna read another little one. So make sure you play by the I'm Safe checklist. You're not sick. You're not on any drugs. You're not stressed out. You're not boozed up. You're not too tired, and you got a good meal in you. There's your I'm Safe checklist. Okay, another one here, which really struck me was okay. So decide ahead. One strategy for countering risk is to make as many decisions as possible ahead of time. For example, if you're planning a trip that risks flying at night when you're not qualified to do so, try planning backwards from the goal. If I want to arrive at place B before night, I will have to depart place A before such and such a time. If I'm not airborne before this time, I do not depart, or I plan only to go part way. Boom, you got your plan, you're all set. I've known, oh, geez. Okay, two pilots in particular that got caught at night, and it's a real pain. One guy was this some dude in a bar that he said, "Yeah, I bought this plane and I did my commercial cross country trip to the Bahamas, and then if you got your commercial, by the time you're doing your commercial cross country trip, you have your night rating and maybe an instrument rating. But the thing is, in the Bahamas, you're not allowed to fly at night if you're VFR. So he said he went over to the island and like somehow he found a runway. Somehow he found a runway that wasn't lit up. He landed and he was in a whole heap of trouble. So he's lucky he didn't he didn't become a victim of the Bermuda Triangle. Actually, that's one of those reasons that the Bermuda Triangle could exist, because it's in the middle of the ocean and airplanes crashing. Well, back the instrumentation wasn't as good and the training wasn't as good back in the day. So so make sure you plan ahead, decide ahead, and don't get caught doing something you shouldn't be doing. All right, here we go. And here's another one that I totally forgot about, and it's how pilots assess risk. And they say in the book, it's a matter of probabilities. In the decision-making process, assessment of risk is an assessment of probability. For example, given deteriorating weather, what's the probability that it will get even worse or get better or stay the same? So I never really thought about that as far as making a decision. It's like, what's the probability that this would be good? And I mean, whenever you're checking your pilot weather, they give you a probability, or even, your 7-day forecast on your phone or whatever, 30% chance of showers, 50% chance of thunderstorms. And what's your probability? And so that's kind of I never really thought about that. And if you're really stuck, you say, okay. And then I was even asking myself, okay, I'm pretty good at doing crosswinds and landings. I've done them like pretty nasty ones. But you can't really get complacent about that stuff. I think I'm going to read about that next. Oh yeah, here we go. But what's the probability that I could land this plane if I'm coming in a little bit faster? I'm going to use up more runway. What's my probability of making this landing? That's I never thought about that. If you're like really on the fence, it's 50-50. Well, maybe if it's 50-50, that's not good enough. Okay, so and then we're going to talk about risk-taking behavior and judgment. This is the last little bit I'm going to read out of the book. Okay, and I see some funny comments over there. I'll address any comments if I go through and I see a question mark afterwards. I will answer the question to the best of my ability. Okay, risk-taking behavior and judgment. When people successfully perform a risky act on the job or for recreation, they often change their attitude or opinion about the personal risk involved. They may discount the risk and come to believe that the activity is not risky, or they may develop a sense of their own invulnerability. Now, that's one of those has 5 hazardous attitudes that I did a video on way back when, invulnerability. The more often they are successful at the dangerous act, the more likely they are to believe that although the practice may be dangerous in a general sense, nothing bad will happen to them. This attitude can lead them to repeat the act, and a vicious circle can be set up. The more often they do it, the more they feel justified in their sense of invulnerability. Yeah, you're getting away with it. Yeah, it's not that risky. I do it all the time. The more comfortable they become with the sense of invulnerability, the more likely they are to reduce the margin for safety, engage in even riskier behavior. It's ironic that as the subjective evaluation of personal risk decreases, the odds of an accident happening are actually increasing. So yeah, so if you're going to be doing something really risky, um, I think they got even a. Oh, here we go. And then this is the last little bit. So this effect that so just because you're the pilot doing this risky behavior, other people pick it up too. And I've seen that at where I used to work, where people they start. We got to get back. Let's just let's just taxi full throttle all the way back so I can save point one on the hops. And so what happens is everybody sees everyone else starting to taxi faster, and then all of a sudden everyone's taxiing really fast. And if you blow out a tire, if your brakes fail on you, you could be in trouble. So and that's one thing that old Carl said once when he was working for me. Well, he was more of a seasoned guy than me actually. And he said, everyone's kind of taxiing pretty fast around here, you might want to say something. I was like, yeah, okay. And he said that he's seen this cycle happen all the time over years and years, where the taxiing speed for everyone in the group gets a little faster, a little faster, a little faster, a little faster, and then the boss has to say something. Okay, guys, slow it down. And then it slows down, and then it slowly gets faster and faster, and it's a cycle that repeats. Like apparently, about every 5 years or so, everyone gets faster. They get the slap on the wrist by the by me, the iron fisted chief flight instructor, and and then they slow down again, and it repeats. And I've seen that. I've had to do it a couple times. So old Carl was correct on that. And so here's another one here. The effect can spread as more pilots do something like buzz the bunkhouse to let someone know they need a vehicle at the airport. A group value may develop. So pretty soon, people are competing to see who can buzz the best. The behavior becomes normal and accepted, but even though everyone does it, it's still risky. Eventually, the odds will catch up to someone. And there you go, eventually. Uh, and then the conclusion here is the good. There's about this much conclusion, but I'll just say there are old pilots and bold pilots, but very few old, bold pilots. There we go. The end for today. And yeah, so that's kind of all I wanted to talk about was and there's all I mean, you can get into decision making and personal minimums, and I mean, you could go for hours and hours and hours on that. But basically, the main thing that I wanted you guys to walk away with today was that if you're at a flight school, there will be one of these around. Just take a glance at it, give it back to the CFI or whatever. Might be in the library at your school, if you're in Canada, anyways. And so, yeah, and just be safe out there and have lots of fun. So, okay, here we go. I am going to. All right, got my awesome new freebie mouse. The best price is free, I tell you. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and yeah, so DH Pilot One. So Denis is here. He was taught by Carl 24 years ago. That's how old Carl is, man. I'm not saying how old Denis is, but anyways, yeah, Shecky used to go riding around skateboards in a pool, no helmet. Tony Hawk, you see him flying off the side of a pool. Big deal, no helmets, no nothing. What else we got here? And then Wrench says, is eating and emotion. They're very closely linked sometimes. Don't get between a girl and her chocolate bar. She'll get some hatred going. Where are we here? Okay, follow your gut. If it doesn't feel right, don't go. Yeah, that's generally, it says in here that they talk specifically in the book about making decisions with your gut. Now, what they say in the book is to don't make any hasty decisions with your gut without looking into the facts and considering things. But that little nagging feeling that you're going, that's also your gut telling you no. So you are correct, Denny. And we got Wrench here. Can you just fly on The taxiway at 1 foot in ground effect. Well, I have a little funny story about that. So what Wrench is talking about, to illustrate, I might have to get out the KD12X, the original. Okay, yeah, good instructor always has his his training aids. So if you don't know what ground effect is, okay, you okay, if you're flying your airplane along like this, okay, you see how high that is? That's one wingspan. Ground effect starts at this level at one wingspan. And then as you get closer and closer and closer to the ground, you're actually kind of getting your I don't want to get too technical on this, but you have less drag on the airplane. You can go a little bit faster. You'll have a bit more lift too. And if you're flying on a taxiway, taxiways are there to be taxied on with your wheels. I would say you can fly on a taxiway at 1 foot in ground effect. If you're in a helicopter, it's called a hover taxi. But I know this one guy, one of the instructors, I don't know if he worked for me for a summer with the Air Cadets. He was telling me that he had, he was doing, I think it was on his private pilot flight test. The examiner was sitting there with him. And there was a big, long taxiway there, and they landed. They had to taxi forever to get back to where they parked the plane on the airport. And the examiner actually said, oh, okay, I have control here. He took it. The examiner took off and flew in ground effect all the way down the taxiway. No clearance for like takeoff or anything like that, right? And like if you're on an airport property and there's a control tower, you got to have permission to get those wheels off the ground. And this examiner did this, and he said, "Oh, yeah, it's just like a hover taxi. If if helicopters can do it, we should be able to do it too." I mean, that's probably. And he got his license back in the old days. I think nowadays you get in trouble for that. So Wrench, if you're a helicopter, go for it. If you're an airplane, no. Okay, and what else we got here? Oh, Jordan had to go. Okay, you see you, Jordan. And Mona Moore was talking about the three mehs. I did a video about the three mehs, and that's what when DH Pilot 1 was talking about going with your gut. If you got three of those little, yeah, I think it's called the three mehs. You can check it out in my video. And so that's in addition to all the other rules that you should be flying for. If you got like, there's three, that means no. Or if you got a big one where your gut's saying, that's also it. Okay. All right. And Wrench is also being a wordsmith here, talking about how taxiing was taxing. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I knew Marg Hyland. She was, I think she actually passed away a little while ago. She was a longtime bush pilot up in Sudbury. And she was telling me when she did a cross-country trip to Sioux, Michigan back in the day. And Sioux, Michigan, the runway up there at the time was, I'm not sure if it still is, but it was like 10,000 feet long because it was Sioux, Michigan was a backup runway for, what were the first nuclear bombers? B-46s, I think, something like that, or so I think it was put in when they first came out with like long range nuclear bombers in the States. And so they had this 10,000 foot runway in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. B-47. Yeah. Okay. Wrench, you're the American in the gang. So, okay. DH Pilot 1-2. We got confirmation. The B-47, the big, I think that was the one where the propellers are on the back of the wing or something. Looked like a B-29. Anyways. Yeah. So she landed on this. I think it's shortened now. It's only like maintained is only, I don't know, 6,000 or something. But she landed on it. She had her Cessna 150 and landed right at the numbers on this 10,000 foot runway. And the controller said, and she had to taxi all the way to the end, 10,000 feet on the runway. And he said, cleared to take off and land again. We got to get you off. So she took off, flew to the end of the runway, landed again, and then got her logbook stamped. So, oh, what do we go? B-36 is the one with, I don't know. You know, that's another funny thing about being a pilot. It's like, okay, I know how to fly them. I don't know really how to maintain them. And there's some plane spotters out there that are just phenomenal. They know everything about airplanes. I just put gas in them and go. But yeah, no, I kind of know how they run a little bit. And yeah, if I ever buy a B-36 or a B-47, I'll know all about it. Probably. Okay. Yeah, that's about it for today. Yeah, I got to go pick up some leaves for my garden. And yeah, that's about it. Okay, cool. We're going to shut her down. I'm going to use my new free mouse. Thanks to my brother. Sponsored by my brother there. So yeah, okay, that's about it. We have, oh, what do we got here? Oh, Mona Moore's going to be off riding her bike with no helmet to the playground, the one with the all metal structures. Yeah, that's right. That's how everyone got rid of their baby teeth when they were kids. They just bang them off the monkey bars, and then the new ones came in. So, all right, times change. Okay, we're going to shut her down. So, thank you for watching. Bye.